Hello, everyone. February Power BI update is here, and my pick for today's session is new mobile formatting options. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you through this amazing feature that is currently introduced in the latest update. So the feature is in the preview mode, which means that in order to see it, you need to, first of all, have the latest Power BI desktop version downloaded and installed on your machine. And secondly, you need to go to the options menu, and in the preview features list, on the preview features list, you need to tick modify visual settings for mobile layout. Okay, so when it's done, you can actually use that amazing functionality. Now I'm going to do a quick demo, but before that, for those of you who are not familiar with mobile layout, I will give a brief explanation how it can be used. Okay, so under the view menu in your Power BI desktop, you can see this mobile layout icon. Okay, so just imagine you build your report in Power BI desktop, you publish it, and users are happy. So everything is perfectly aligned, customized, colors, font size, etc. And so you've got a new requirement that says, okay, some users may want to see them this report using their mobile devices. Now you can say, okay, yeah, that will work perfectly well, no problems with it at all. Power BI supports that. But so some reports, especially if they have multiple visuals, may not look really nice displayed on a small screen, right? Because yeah, you customize it having in mind that it will be viewed on the desktop or notebook screens, but smartphones are much smaller. So okay, so if they open it, it may not be really user friendly. And for that, Power BI has this mobile layout, which by the way has been here for years, and it's very interesting tool. So actually you can create an alternative version of your Power BI desktop version of the report, dragging in the same visuals that you already have on your report page, and changing the layout, and even deciding some visuals may not be very useful on the mobile phone. So you may decide not to include some long graphs, etc., just bringing in some main information, okay? And this is great. And when users use mobile devices to view the report, Power BI detects that, and they will show mobile layout instead of regular desktop layout. Okay, so that's the purpose of mobile layout. Now, about the new feature. Previously, to configure a visual, you had to do all configuration in your desktop. And then when you bring in some visuals, for example, I will bring this title here. You could have noticed that, okay, so it doesn't look nice here because this title is too long. Okay, how you could solve this? You could go back, you could change the size of the font or remove part of the title, but that would affect the main page. Okay, this is not probably something you would want to happen. And there were some tricks like creating alternative visuals, hiding them behind other visuals, and bringing in to front on your mobile layout, but that's not really the best way of doing that. And with the new feature, actually Power BI team gave us a great tool to customize each visual specifically for mobile or desktop layout. So how you can do that? Very simple. In the mobile layout, after you dragged your visual in, you can go to the settings and actually change whatever you want, not affecting your desktop report, okay? So here I will just remove demo word, and I will make it bold and a bit larger, okay? Now this title looks great in mobile layout. And if I go back to my desktop layout, I will see that the title hasn't changed. Perfect, just exactly what I needed. And I can do actually with all the visuals I want to have in my mobile layout, okay? So just, for example, for this donut chart, I really want to make it more readable for users in my mobile view. So I will make it the labels, maybe bold, and, oh, sorry, not title, I'm going here. Detail labels, and I want to make them bold, and I want to show only percentage and category, not showing absolute numbers. That should be quite enough in my mobile view. And for this visual, I want to change, for example, color to black, and for the value, I want to make it smaller but bold. Okay, my configuration is done. It looks much better in mobile layout, but the desktop is not affected. So it's still customized the same way as it was before, but mobile layout will show alternative version of customization. And the last thing, if you change your mind, you can actually clear mobile changes. And important thing to understand is when you start changing the settings of each visual in mobile layout, you will see this indicator that will tell you, okay, some settings in this category have been changed in the mobile layout and won't inherit changes made in desktop, which makes sense. And that's an indicator that this visual is configured differently. If you want to reset it, you can click here, clear mobile changes, and that will bring things back. Okay, so I think this is a very powerful and cool feature, and I encourage you to just give it a try and play with it. Yeah, I think that's it from me.
That's some really helpful tips. Thank you so much. I think, Owen, you have some things to share as well today.
Great, thanks very much. Yeah, that was definitely a lot about the mobile layout there, which I haven't worked with much in the past. So thanks, Artiom, again. Yeah. So I'll just share my screen. I'm going to talk a little bit about this dynamic M query parameters, which have had SQL Server and a few other source support added. So what this is about, this feature has been out for a while, and what it basically is with a direct query connection, you can create parameters within the report, or accessible by a Power BI report, which are bound to M query parameters, which in turn are used to generally filter your data source. So interestingly, until now, we couldn't actually use this feature with SQL Server or Azure SQL. So that's been a bit of a limitation, but that has now been added. So you can now use these dynamic query parameters with SQL Server, Azure SQL, a few other sources listed here on the update summary here. So just to sort of people that might not have worked with this feature, I've got a very small demo prepared. I'll just bring up Power BI desktop here. So what I have here is I have a direct query, a sales table here, which is a direct query storage mode. So this sales table is set up. If I just jump into the query editor, the sales table is set up with a min date and a max date parameter used to filter essentially filter the date column of the sales table itself. There's a step up here where those parameters are used as date bounds. Now, those parameters have particular values, and when you look at them in the query editor, however, when you use this feature, you additionally create parameters with independent tables. So I've created a max month parameter and a min month parameter. In this case, I did them with DAX, but I don't think that's a requirement. You could create them other ways, but I've created them with DAX. So I guess this is quite a simple example of how this will be used, but you basically create these parameters, in this case, single column tables, and then you jump in on your model view, you select the column, go into your advanced settings, and choose bind to parameter. So that's where you select the M parameter that particular column is bound to. Now what happens is whenever someone filters on those parameter columns, that is directly fed into the M query and sends back a query to the data source with that those particular parameter values applied. So I've got SQL Server Profiler open here. I'll just clear it, and if I apply a particular, let's say I go August. In fact, let's go August 08 to September 08 as my minimum month and maximum month. Just let that run, and we can see, among other things, the query for the sales table was rerun with those date bounds enforced. It might be a little small there, but essentially there's a where clause including those particular bounds. Now you might want to do things more sophisticated than simple date bounds. There might be a whole a much more complicated type of parameter, or a more interesting sort of parameter you might want to apply. But the key thing is SQL Server or SQL sources now support this. So if you're working with Azure SQL or SQL Server on premises, you can use this feature with direct query. So I think it's quite cool, and I think there's some great blog posts on there on how people have applied this with other data sources, but now you can apply it to SQL Server. So go and read through the blog, read through some of the documentation, and test this one out. Yeah, that's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Owen.
No worries.
Thank you, Owen. That's really helpful and great tips as well.
Thanks, Owen and Artie, for those great insights and updates. It's really great to see how Power BI is evolving. In the new February 2020 release through Microsoft Power BI, we've got the multiple sparklines by the Excel access. So what we've got is we can actually create multiple sparklines on the same rows using this visualization. So what you've got is just created a quick snapshot of our different profit and cost metrics across all different subcategories. So we've got our values, we've got a profit margin percentage bubble, we've got a bar chart for sales, we've got a column chart for total profit, and then we've got a waterfall chart for costs. So as you can see, if we flick through the different periods, everything's dynamic, so we can have multiple sparklines on the same row. What's also great is you can actually resize it. You can resize the header. You can actually move columns around if you wish, and you can also expand rows. So it's very flexible in terms of resizing your table. Then at the same time, you can also do conditional format on the different charts. You can actually see on the right hand side, if I just highlight the visual, you can see here's all the options you've got. You've got your line and area chart, you've got a column chart, you've got a combo chart, bullet or bar chart, a bubble chart, a dumbbell chart, donuts, waffle chart, waterfall chart, ratings charts, and so on. Then obviously for each one, you can go and format the charts, give them different colors, set width, text size, add data labels, all those kind of things. All right, so moving on to the second one, what we've got here, another one is the merged bar chart by Nova Silver. And what this chart does, it actually merges all your bar charts into one visual. So again, you've got my subcategories on the left-hand side, and then I've got 4 different measures. I've got total sales, total costs, total profit, and profit margins. So these are 3 bar charts next to each other, but they're actually within one visual, so they are merged. So you'll see if I flick through the different years, all the data changes. What can you do with this? You can actually filter. If you only want to look at certain bars, you can actually hold in control and then select, or multi-select the ones that you want to have a look at. At the same time, you can also do conditional format on all the different bars. You just highlight the visual, and then you're going to choose what colors you want. Over here, data colors. So your first value is total sales, total cost is your second value, third value is total profit, and profit margin percentage is the fourth value. All right, so that's just a quick overview of the 2 new visualizations that was released by Power BI in February 2022.